Okay, you are about to hear a fantastic interview. This week, I was delighted to be joined by special guest Ugo Monye. Ugo is a former England international rugby player, respected sport broadcaster, and advocate for healthier conversations around masculinity, mental health, and identity. Ugo is an ambassador for Same Side, which is a campaign by UN Women UK to redefine, quote, what being a man is. Right now, algorithms are telling your boys they shouldn't cry, depression is a choice, and that women are the enemy. The Same Side Conversation Guide that was released recently gives the words and prompts to open a new dialogue with all the children in your life. Whether you're a parent or not, if you've got young people in your life, you need to read this guide. From red flags that online content is crossing into harmful territory, to practical guidance to challenge the harmful gender norms that are appearing. There is a strong connection between the new UN Women UK's Safe Side campaign and sustainability and climate action, because both are ultimately about values we pass on to the next generation: empathy, responsibility, resilience, and collective care. Young people's worldviews are being shaped online, where misogyny and anti-empathy attitudes, as well as anti-climate narratives, are often now overlapping. Manosphere ideologies can conflate traditional masculine dominance with things like fossil fuel consumption through the likes of supercars, meat-heavy diets. Conversely, environmentalism, sustainability, green technology, these are all often framed online to younger boys through the manosphere as feminine or soft, and show up in resistance to climate action because they reject vulnerability, they mock environmental concern, care, or compassion, and show that as a weakness, prioritizing short-term power and status over long-term well-being. So sustainability, we know, depends on collaboration, long-term thinking, and protecting others. So if we are truly going to change the system and not just talk about things in a silo, we have to go beyond just our area of interest, because we need to think more broadly about how we can support long-term climate action while building a healthier idea of masculinity. And the reason this conversation is so interesting is because when it comes to athletes and the likes of Ugo as an ambassador in this area, we're using the power of sport to try and change this wider narrative that is ultimately harming long-term climate action if it continues to take hold. So a little different angle to usual when it comes to our conversation, but I think you're absolutely going to love it. And it's an absolutely fascinating conversation with Ugo that goes in a lot of different directions. So enjoy. Ugo, welcome to the Climate of Sport podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, super excited to have you with us. So we're chatting today. We're going to get to about the Same Side campaign from UN Women UK and
Yeah.
Vodafone, which is really exciting to talk about changing conversations with young men. So that I'm really interested to chat to you about that. But what I want to start off with, just, get to know you sort of questions. I want to hear about young Ugo before all the England caps, the broadcasting success, the influencer vibes, because we're talking about young men. Like, what
Yeah.
kind of kid were you?
I was lively. I spent most of my days outside. I know it's a like totally different world. Like I'm 43, so like growing up during half term, which we're currently in, I would literally have breakfast. Mum would just like leave. The front door would be unlocked, and you just make your way out. You'd be bopping about your mates' neighbours, houses, the parks, and all the rest of it. You'd be rallying around on your bikes. I just loved being outside. I loved being active. It's funny, I've got two girls, two daughters, Phoenix and Ruby, 9 and 6. And my youngest,
Oh,
Ruby, is, I feel like we're the same spirit animal. She's mischievous, she's bold, she's headstrong. And I often tell her off for character traits I've definitely given her, which is so unfair. You know, it's like I'm telling off my younger self and having to like realize like what my mum had to deal with. So I was definitely very active. Yeah, I
oh,
was playful, mischievous. Yeah, all of the above.
nice. Well, it sounds like they're forces to be reckoned with, which we love to hear. And then tell us as well, like as we sort of alluded to there, you've had all these different chapters of your life. Elite athlete, then you went to broadcasting. We can't not mention the dancing vibe as well. Jokes. You're a dad, obviously a very proud dad. Now you're
Yeah.
doing campaign work as well, and that's really close to your heart. Which version of this are you most comfortable with? What have you enjoyed the most? Come on, you've got to pick one. And I will let you have dad plus something because I'm not a monster.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I love being a dad. Like I love being a dad, especially being a girl dad because I'll be honest, I really wanted boys because I was ignorant. I was like, I'll just have like little me's because
Yeah.
I was once upon a time a boy and I know what boys do and I know what they like. So you're just gonna follow in my footsteps. So having girls has been enlightening. Like me as their dad, you're there to guide them, protect them, teach them, but they teach me so many things and they've introduced me to so many different things in my life, which I never would have been entertained. Like I'll give you a trivial example. So
Cool.
2 years ago, I took my kids to Taylor Swift. You'd never see me at a Taylor Swift concert. Just what was I going to be doing there? It's not my kind of music. It's not what I listen to, but it was genuinely one of the best nights I've ever had in my life. Like the
Amazing.
joy, honestly, the joy, the celebration of people coming together. And we live in times now where it feels quite fractured and people want to often speak about the things that separate us and divide us. So actually going to Wembley Stadium, getting off like the tube and seeing police officers with cowboy hats, like swapping loom bands with like my kids. And there was an amazing moment where my daughter spilled all her popcorn and then some bloke, random guy, walked across, picked up her bucket, then spilled half of his popcorn into his bucket and was like, there you go. And I was just like, isn't this just the best of
Oh.
humanity? So so like I love being a dad. But it's quite hard to compare all the different like I don't know, moments or chapters in my life. I love being a rugby player, but I truly believe that my rugby career whilst I was fortunate to be successful and do things, I think my 14 years playing rugby was I think the purpose of it was to give me a platform to talk about things that I care about. Like
Yeah.
honestly. So
Amazing.
I guess to answer your question, it's probably the chapter I'm in right now because
Yeah.
rugby's wicked, it was amazing, nothing can compare to it. But that was quite self-centered. It was like, what can I achieve and what can I do? And that's cool and that's fine. It's great to have individual wants and achievements, but now, apart from like the broadcasting, a lot of my time speaking about things that actually don't necessarily impact my life, but can maybe impact and better other people's lives. And I quite like that. I quite enjoy that. And I wouldn't be able to, I'd still be able to speak about those things, but I don't think my voice would be able to travel as far without having had
Mm.
my playing career. So it's great the platform that's given me to be able to do all the stuff I'm doing now, which I love.
Yeah, I love that answer. And I guess that segues us into a little bit more about the kind of mindset of athletes. Probably an unhelpful generalization from non-elite athletes or people who haven't competed at that level. The elite athletes are rugby players and footballers, whatever, are mentally very bulletproof. It's kind of the closest thing we've got to superheroes. And that's why I think athletes have this incredible platform and this following and this influence. But the other side to that is when you're seen in that way, maybe it's more difficult to be vulnerable and talk about mental health. And how do you think that's changing? Do you genuinely think it's improving in sport? How are you seeing that evolution with mental health with
I-
athletes?
I've definitely seen a positive evolution. Being tough, being strong, all of those kind of watchwords that are used in sport, what I think were often like misplaced to not what we'd consider like good behaviors right now. So like being bold
Mm.
and strong is someone who's mentally really struggling but just cracked on. But also at the same time, like I think resilience is such an incredible trait that each and every one of us possess. I'm certainly not an
Mm.
advocate for not being resilient because we all need to like fall over and have an ability to be able to get back up. But I do think there is a huge difference between being resilient and actually just understanding when to hit pause and just needing to step away or reset and reach out for help. I was actually chatting to someone yesterday. I'm fiercely independent and it's one of my strongest assets, but it's also one of my biggest weaknesses because I don't know how to ask for help, like genuine, because I believe that I can fix it and I can sort it and everything like that. And that's just due to circumstances and the way in which I like viewed the world and all the rest of it. And it's everything, whether it's a behavior or a physical skill, everything is learnt. And I'm trying to still learn how to like reach out and ask for help when I need it. So that's definitely like a work in progress in myself. I do believe it's better now, and it's really tough, I think, in elite sport because say rugby, which is a sport that I played, you spend a lot of time working on how you present yourself to the
Mm.
opposition. I don't want the opposition to ever know that I'm tired, fatigued, or struggling on the pitch
Yeah.
because that you then become a target. Look, he's tired, he's injured, right,
Mm.
get after him because you're a weak
Yeah.
link within your chain. So if you spend a lot of your time in your career putting on this veneer of being strong and bulletproof, how do you then decipher that or delineate that from your personal life when actually there's times where you don't always need to have this veneer of strength, you actually need to be vulnerable. So it's a
Mm.
bit juxtaposing. The other thing in a performance related environment is and it's got better once again. But years
Mm.
ago, the thought of going to your coach and saying, like, mentally, I'm struggling, which
Yeah.
is a conversation that could be had, might play against you. If you've got a huge game at the weekend and you've just told
Mm.
your coach, I'm mentally struggling, he's probably not going to select you. Why
Yeah.
would he select you? So you'll learn then to not speak out. Even if you are
Mm.
struggling, you don't want to because what's the most important thing is that I play on Saturday. And so once
Yeah.
again, you spend a lot of time masking, but I do believe it has got better. I think there's far greater awareness. I think athletes are able to cope and deal with it better. They know where to go. And in turn, coaches and sports psychologists and things, I think, are also there on hand to be able to help people. So I do believe it is better. And once again, there's this like public image versus like a private image of how you're viewed and how you're viewed as tough and strong and bold and
Mm.
doing incredible things versus the person when he gets home and shuts the doors who's just the regular bloke or regular
Yeah.
girl. I think some people maybe find it hard to pick up one mask and put down the other and maybe I don't know, get lost in between trying to be the person the public think they are versus being who you actually are. Does any of that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. We're just little anxious cucumbers, a lot of us, aren't we?
Yeah, do you know what? I'm fortunate enough to have played sport and worked with loads of different people. And the one thing I would say to anyone who enjoys sport, and we all like look up to people, like I looked up to people, and that kind of created my route getting into rugby and stuff, is you'll never see a more vulnerable place than the changing room. Never in all your
Mm.
life. If the changing room could speak, it'd be the greatest storyteller of all time. Like, I've been in change rooms where grown men, like 140, 150 kilograms, who were like monsters, like man mountains, are devastated, distraught. Like, or there's one which is so vivid in my mind. I can remember this change room I was in, and I remember being there, and I was like, I hope to never ever feel this again. But when
Yeah.
people like grown men are crying, like
Yeah.
disgraceful, like honestly, like so bad, like torn up. But
Yeah.
5 minutes ago, in front of 80,000 people, they're out there going toe to toe, going to war. But in the change
Yeah.
room, away from the lights, I've seen that. I've seen the greatest jubilation. I believe everything is equal and opposite in this world. And if it has
Yeah.
the opportunity to be the greatest day of your life, it also has the
Yeah.
opportunity to be the worst. And I'll tell you what, when you walk down the tunnel and you shut the door and you're just left on your own or with your teammates, the ones closest to you, oh, people fall apart, like including myself. Like that's happened all the time. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Like get yourself in a change room, witness some of those emotions and those big, bold men,
Yeah.
big, bold, real men who struggle and feel every emotion that
Yeah.
anyone ever would.
Absolutely. But only be invited into men's changing rooms. Don't just bowl up, I reckon.
Yeah. Or
Don't
just
just don't
knock.
just pop in. Don't just
Just
pop in. Yeah, yeah. Careful. We've got to be careful there with advice, Ugo. Come on.
yeah,
But yeah,
that's it. Yeah. And also, that wasn't an
love it.
invitation. I'm just like, ask for
Correct.
permission.
There we go. Caveat that. So this is to say these like that experience that you've just like told us about there, which is fascinating, one, and really, really visceral as well in terms of what you explained, and that equal and opposite vibe as well. You obviously came up at a different time. Like now, especially younger athletes are doing all of this in the context of scrutiny and social media and a lot more pressure. Do you think it makes a huge difference? Is it worse? Is it better? Is it different?
Way worse. I'm so pleased I played in the era I played in. I mean, social media was a thing. I'm not like 105, but it it was there. It just wasn't as prevalent as where it is right
Yeah.
now. And you're effectively asking like younger adults now to deal with things that we're still learning about. You know, we're at the point now where that we're trying to create legislation to safeguard kids because it's become this addiction and unfortunately a negative addiction to kids. And social media has been in place 20 years, something like that. I guess more widely known. So it's still fairly immature in terms of age space for us. We don't know the long-lasting effects of it. But for athletes now, it's an absolute barrage. I don't think there's a huge amount you can do. Oh, no, there's bits you can do to protect yourself. The one thing I always say, and it's really, really tough, and we know about the algorithms, it's all designed for you to stay online and stay on your phone and create these habits. But the unfortunate thing, I mentioned equal and opposites. If someone can say something positive about you online and that can give you a boost, that's fine. But all I'm telling you is if it can put a pep in your step, it means that if someone then says something negative, it can impact you. There's no way your brain has the ability to be able to feel one emotion without feeling the other. So, trying to keep a mental level of equilibrium is really important. But we know if you've played a brilliant game, you've been player of the match, you scored a great goal or amazing try, you're probably likely to go on social media just, indulge me. What's
Yeah,
the world been
I'm
saying about
brilliant.
me? What have they been saying? Enlighten me. And we do doom scroll. I remember being on a tour in South Africa with England, and we got battered by South Africa. And I remember being sat at the bar with my teammates. And the way in which we dealt with it was by dealing with it together. So we'd be sat at the bar and be like, Hugo, you were terrible today. Right, okay, let's type his name into Twitter. And we'd sit there as five or six of us and I'd be like, oh my gosh, well, this unnamed person has said that you were the worst rugby, and we would laugh. We would honestly would
Yeah,
sit there and laugh because I'd
yeah,
rather that than go to my bedroom and just oh no, without anyone. So we try to deal with it that way. It's so invasive, and it's not just your phone; it's your friend's phone, it's your family phone. Even if you've not seen the article or heard about it, your friend will be like, "Hey Claire, did you?" Like, no, I didn't actually. I don't want to.
yeah.
They will let you know. So it is. It's very encompassing. It's almost quite claustrophobic. So I do feel for them. I do feel for the younger ones now.
Yeah, it's so hard. And I think this brings us on to the same side campaign, which is this new campaign from UN Women UK that you're involved with. So in the intro, we'd have shared a little bit about it, but tell us, like, from your perspective, how did you get involved? What does it mean to you? Like, why is this an important campaign for you to be involved with personally?
I think there's a lot of noise out there, isn't it? And especially when you like consider social media, due to algorithms, the way in which things perform, like bad news really travels, and toxic news travels even further. And so for some of these content creators, your Andrew Tates of this world, they have truly capitalized and monetized an ability to be able to speak negatively, to create a persona of and a vision of what they think people, and I guess more specifically men, should be like. And it's caught like wildfire. And they've developed this incredible community online, incredible, not in a positive sense, but incredible in terms of its numbers and following. So they've now got this platform which they've created and have the capacity to be able to speak to young adults, young men, and we know how quickly that can travel. And unfortunately, whether you're a fan of Andrew Tate, you like him or not, believe in his opinion, loads of young men and boys are coming across lots of this narrative without even having to search for it. It's just populating
Mm.
people's phones. So same side, UN Women UK like reached out to me, and I think were clear in understanding like my opinion on these things. Otherwise, I guess there's no
Yeah.
point in having a conversation. And said, would I be interested in maybe sharing some of my thoughts around like mental health, my views on what young men, what young boys think, feel, and maybe almost myth busting some of what's already out there. It's really
Yeah.
tough because I do believe we're in a place in an era, it's just my view anyway, that you can't, people don't want to be told what to do anymore. So my view is to like share and show, like crack on, do whatever you want. That's your gift. But this is who I
Mm.
am. These are some of my views. I'm not going to tell you to do this and don't do that, whatever. But yeah, I can share and show people like my opinion and show them what I'm like, and that's all I've done. And it's amazing. Like I think sport's one of the greatest propagandering tools that any country has. It's incredibly galvanized, uniting force, and we've been fortunate to have some sports men speak on it, which is great. And I think for young boys, and without generalizing, but lots of young boys love sport.
Yeah.
And so if they can look up and listen to some of those iconic men, like Mara Toji's been involved in it, Jane Madison's another one,
Yeah.
then I think look for them. Look for them
Yeah.
who are living it and feeling it rather than other men like an Andrew Tate or a HS Tiki who I don't even know if they believe it. I don't even know if they believe it. Because if you took away their platform and their money, would they still be going on about it? Nah, they've hijacked something and run with it. And so that's where it is. And we're, I guess, trying to be an antidote to some of that noise out there.
There's been so much of it recently, but I think it's highly complex because we both are very concerned about it, but also have empathy for the young boys who end up gravitating towards this extreme voice online. Have you got views on why you think some men are gravitating towards this?
I think social media has a lot to answer to, and there's so much more that social media could do. But ultimately, it's we're talking about morality here. They say
Mm,
that they're doing all they can do, but they're not. We know
yeah.
they're not, and I'm of the strong opinion. Like, I just don't think they care enough. Because
Mm,
if you did, you would do something about it. You have the same level of infrastructure and tech to be able to. I could be talking about chewing gum, and then 3 seconds later, I'll get an advert about chewing gum on my phone. So you have that. So you can do the total opposite and reverse it. You don't care enough
mm,
about it because you're making too much money from spreading
yeah.
this. So it is a question of morality. I also,
Mm,
I mean, you've touched upon it, but I think for young, influential boys, and we're all like we can all be easily influenced. Like I can. Like,
mhm.
I'm a marketeer's dream. Like honestly, package a nice advert and I want it. Do you mean I want it? I'm like, oh my gosh, what is that? I didn't realize I needed it, but I need it. So I know I can be got at. Like the amount of
Yeah.
nonsense I buy off TikTok. Do you know what I mean? So like we can all be sold things, whether it's products or ideologies or whatever it is, we can all be got at, you know. I just get, I guess, focused on slightly different things, just not messages. And
Yeah.
it's been microdosed, these bits of information. That's what it
Mm,
is. And like anything, whether it's a habit or an opinion, if it's repeated time and time again, you might start to believe it. And
mm,
unfortunately, there's not of the counter argument because that doesn't transport and create money, clicks, and views
mhm,
online. So yeah, we're just been fed one narrative, unfortunately, which is,
mm.
can I give you a really like poor example? Do you remember the case of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp?
Johnny Depp, I do very much so. Yeah. Mm,
I just remember reading about it on like Daily Mail online.
yeah.
Didn't really know a huge amount about it. And because I read an article, I kept getting fed it on TikTok. And I just kept getting fed Johnny Depp. So straight away, I was like, this poor guy. Like, I don't know who's right and wrong. And I actually don't
Yeah.
really care. But I just got
Mm,
fed one side of the argument. So I had
yeah.
empathy, sympathy for Johnny Depp. I felt like I was personally connecting with this guy. But
Yeah.
I didn't ever hear like Amber Heard's version of events. And whilst that's
Mhm.
really trivial, that's exactly what young men have been fed. You've been fed one
Yeah.
version, one side of the story, just this, microdosed it. And so
Mm,
if you're constantly being fed that, why would you not believe it to be part of your belief? Because
yeah.
that's what you've been shown.
And I think that that point you made there about that like parasocial relationship's really important as well, because so many, from what I've seen, mainly Louis Theroux's documentary on the manosphere, but they
Yeah.
do like that kind of access and that clout and getting like, if you paid this, then I'll do something for you. But that I think is another element, isn't it, that we're fighting against that you mentioned there, that feeling like, oh, I know these people now, I'm in it. Like that's what social media does as well.
Yeah, I
It's
know
crazy.
it is it's when social media was first created, I think my first involvement was like Facebook, and I was like, so cool, I can speak to
Mhm.
my friends down in New Zealand or whatever, and it's this like
Mm.
social community, and it's great, and a ways and way of connecting people. That was V1.
Yeah.
Now it's just so far removed from what it was initially intended to do, because the minute politics and money gets involved in anything, then it can distort people's reason for being, and
Views.
it's
Yeah.
such a shame. And ultimately, people like people. And if you can connect with people, you might take upon their views. And social media now has this incredible ability to be able to connect people with people. So, just what you said there, if you feel
Yeah.
like you know an Andrew Tate, if you develop a personal connection via social media, you'll be able to
Mm.
empathize and you're probably going to listen that much more intently to it. Therefore, you can believe, like via
Mm.
osmosis through a screen, that what he is saying is a reality. It's not a reality. It's a manufactured reality in one person's world, transported around the world.
Absolutely. Doesn't it feel like really simple times, really innocent times of like the first Facebook where everyone was just like literally loading 300 pictures of one night out?
They've not a clue. My biggest struggle on social media was picking my top six on MySpace. Do you know what I mean?
Oh my God, yeah, the struggle was real. So, well, talking about that then, if now, say, like you plop yourself now, the Hugo who was struggling to pick his top six on MySpace, that dude, put him there now. Do you think, based on what's going on, do you think if you were at that age now that you might have been drawn into this content?
Such a good question. I think I could have been a candidate for it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think honestly, I was fortunate because I did have a focus. That was sport and that was rugby. And so the
yeah,
people that I followed online or still follow online have really influenced and shaped like my views. And thankfully they seem to be like pretty good people, well, from what I know of them without knowing them once again.
yeah,
And so I had a lane, I had a focus, I had something I could pour all my energy into. But yeah, if I was a young man growing up today, I'd love to still believe like my anchors would have still been within sport, 100%. But I'd be way more aware of what's going on out there. It's nuts.
yeah.
Like Andrew Tate and this HS Tiki Toki, they don't come across like my platforms. But honestly, I don't
No,
see it. It's
no,
great. It's great.
yeah,
And by the way, if it does come across your black, it doesn't mean because you're a bad person, you're a misogynistic idiot,
no,
and da da da. It can just infiltrate it, and it probably will now. We're
of
talking
course,
about it. My phone's listening to
yeah,
me, and I'll be sold a like stupid subscription to be part of his like. What do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I definitely think that I could have been
yeah,
captured, but I do believe because of my upbringing, because of like my moral compass and the people that I've
mm,
surrounded myself, whilst I may have listened a bit more and been younger
mm,
and been maybe more open to an opinion of an older person, I
mm.
doubt I'd have been captured by it because
Yeah,
yeah, I think you need to have a focus and a center in your life, and mine is sport. And so that I
yeah,
think has been able to like shield me and protect me. We talk so much about values, morals, and the people we become. We always said like better people make better rugby players. And so we
yeah,
spend so much value on that and what that means, truly means. And because
yeah.
I've still got that as a nucleus in myself and from a young
Mm.
age that I would not have defected.
Yeah, I love it. But that again brings us into like team sport because a lot of this comes through fitness content and young men, this alpha belief that you have to look a certain way if you're heterosexual to attract women, which is just bananas. It's quite sad because it's just these poor young boys are being sold something that's so far away from the truth of what genuine connection could be. It just is really horrible.
Yeah, but then social media is superficial. And so
Yeah,
let's, off the back of being on this superficial like network, let's sell superficial values because the whole thing is so transactional. And by the way,
yeah,
it's so much easier to develop a good bod than it is to develop good morals. So
yeah,
or good personality. So why don't I
yeah,
sell you the thing which is easier to gain? And by I can do that through a screen. I can become your PT
yeah,
or your fitness guru online. It's really hard to mold someone's character via this. And
yeah.
so that's a
That's a
lot
great
like
point.
I find it, people are like, oh, shut up, Hugo. You go to gym every single day. All you've done is go to the gym
Mm,
since you're 18. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I'll tell you what, when
mm.
I played rugby for 14 years, everything I did physically was centered around me and my high performance for rugby. There was a purpose to it. I
Yeah,
go to the gym now and I love it. I
yeah,
absolutely love it. And one of the top two reasons is the community that I have in the gym. Like I train with the
mm,
same guys every single day, and I love chatting to them. Like
yeah, yeah.
I love chatting to them,
Proper.
love hanging out with them. And the other thing is, it's so nice in such a busy world to be able to like switch off, headphones on, and just like be in the moment. Be in the moment. I
Yeah,
love that. I know the byproducts of going to the gym are like developing muscle and being fitness
mm,
and being fit and all the rest of it, but they're
mm,
byproducts. That's not my focus. That's not my why. It's not. It's
yeah,
actually built around my mental health more than my physical health. And I find it so
yeah,
frustrating when people talk about the gym. I was having this chat with this girl that I know who pops to the gym quite a lot. She was like, "Yeah, I'm on this focus." I said, "Oh, what's the focus you're at?" 60 days, I've got this holiday. She doesn't talk like that. I don't know. I'll put that accent on, sorry. Um, so
To protect her
yes,
identity, you've
exactly.
given her a voice. Good, good move, good move. Love that.
But she's got this holiday in
Carry on.
60 days. And I was like, okay, cool. I said, so you're going to train really hard. I was like, wicked, cool. What are you going to do day 61?
Mm,
She went, I don't know. Like, I'll be on holiday. I was like, no, if you want to go to the gym, it's good to have focus. But actually, what I find to be so much more important is finding a routine that you can keep, not just for a
mm,
period, not just for Marbella or Ibiza, but like it's so much more important to be healthy than to have a flipping six pack. So,
yeah,
can we focus upon health rather than
yeah,
six packs and biceps and whatever it is, like big bums and shelves and all the other bits of lingo that you pick up in the
yeah,
gym. So that goes so missing. Lads are more
yeah.
likely to buy rogue supplements online that could have a long-lasting damaging effect, but give them short-term benefit now. Get down to GP, get yourself an MOT once every year. Focus on your actual
Mm,
inner health rather than this outwardly health that gets you clicks and likes online. It's crazy. I
yeah.
genuinely find it baffling. I really do.
Yeah, and that's part of the, I guess, a bit of the manosphere stuff as well, isn't it? Of this like power, short-term kind of thinking as well. And when you read, same side and UN Women in the UK have created this report that's incredibly helpful. I've forwarded it to so many of my friends with kids that are girls and boys. I think everyone should be reading this about great tips in there, things to look out for. Lingo, even saying lingo clearly shows our age, but that sort of like catchphrases that we haven't got a clue about, the kids are saying that we're like, what? That I think it's genuinely very helpful. Was there something in there that, like, when you read it, or that it read, or broadly that resonated with you, that you were like, I need to, I hadn't thought about that, or that's something that's popped up?
I was staggered by some of the psychology and some of the beliefs that are out there, like crying as a
Hmm.
man makes you weak, or crying. So you mentioned lingo, the word simp. Like I have to like nod,
Yeah,
I like nod along. I'm like, straight onto Urban Dictionary. What is simp? Do you know what I mean? But like, I'm
yeah,
like, some of these beliefs, for me, it was so laughable because I was like, what, you believe this stuff?
I
Like,
know.
and where are you getting these beliefs from? So that's the thing which, and like, I want to, I don't want to age myself and feel like I'm disconnected from what Gen Z are doing and all the rest of it, if it's Gen Z or Gen Z. But
Mm,
at the same time, like this is happening. What on the planet that I live in, like within the
mm,
communities that I coexist in, like that for
yeah,
me baffled me. So actually having this toolkit for like parents, for young boys, young girls, for everyone really,
mm,
just to understand, so you can be
mm,
like hyper aware of what's going on, what you might be combating against, as well as some of the challenges and thought processes that are out there.
mm,
That for me is quite staggering. Like I said earlier, I've forgotten the percentage, but the percentage of people that are actually coming across a lot of this narrative online without even searching for it,
yeah.
that was alarming.
And then in terms of this campaign and the work, which isn't going to be a one and done, like of course these are long-term missions, but they we pop out the other end, these campaigns and work more generally succeeds. What changes do you hope we're going to see in boys, especially men, people and conversations that we're having with each other? Like what would make you feel like I think this has had an impact?
I would love to know that young boys, young men are having more conversations with what at
Mhm.
home, and open to it, like really open to it.
Yeah.
Like I've got two young girls, 9 and 6. What makes me really proud is they come and talk to me. Like, and I
Yeah.
hope that relationship just exists like into their teenage years where bigger kids, bigger problems, you know. I want them
Yeah.
to always feel as if we can have a conversation. I would love it that the conversation, the toolkits, and some of the conversations that some of these wonderful sports people are having online can be then taken and exported into people's homes. I would love it if there's a continued openness for these conversations because the one thing that doesn't ever move the dial is by having zero conversations. So whether it's a good
Yeah.
conversation or a bad one, like have the conversation. And yeah,
Mm.
that would make me really proud, really happy.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Six Nations or Lions Tour?
Oh my gosh, that's horrible. Lions tour has to be. Yeah, yes, that one. Lions.
Ice bath or sauna?
Oh my gosh, easy. Sauna, always. I'm built for the heat, me.
Nice. Presenting or interviewing?
Presenting. Yeah, I like presenting.
Nice. Never watch rugby again or never talk about rugby again?
What? Oh,
I would say I love the fact you're like, I need to compute this for a second. Hang
yeah.
on a second.
Because in
You're
like
never
in
allowed
my
to watch
job,
it again. You're never
yeah,
allowed to talk. I know you have to do both. That's why this is supposed to be hard.
exactly. Because in order to talk about it, I have to watch it. Mind you, there are some people out there just blagging it. Won't mention any names. Um, so, I,
Shade.
oh,
I love it. I love it.
I'll never talk about it. I have to watch it. I love it too much. Wow, this is tricky.
So hard, so hard. I'm sorry for this. Pep talk or tough love?
For me,
Would you,
tough.
if someone was struggling, would you give them a pep talk or would you give them tough love?
Oh, pep talk. That's what I would start with
Nice.
first.
Nice. And then evolve into tough love. Love that. Both
Exactly.
things. Both things. Okay. Suit and punditry or muddy boots at the training ground?
A suit and punditry. I've lived that life. It's in the rearview mirror. I'll stay where I am.
Nice. And I know this is going to be easy, but I just thought I'd put it in for jokes. Gym session or podcast studio?
Oh, there we go. It's always going to be a gym session, 100%. I do
Yeah.
love a podcast and I've enjoyed this conversation, but the gym for me.
Back to the gym. Perfect. Well, that was Ugo Monye on the Climate of Sport podcast. Ugo, thank you so much for joining us and talking about Same Side, which is a campaign by UN Women UK. So we're going to put all the links to everything in the show notes. And thank you for joining us on this week's episode.
Thanks for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Claire Poole from Sport Positive. It is a pleasure to see you. Are you following me on Instagram and LinkedIn? You should be. Are you following Sport Positive on Instagram and LinkedIn? You should be. Are you listening to our weekly podcast, The Climate of Sport? You should be. Are you getting our weekly intelligence brief? You should be. There's so much that we are doing at the intersection of sport and the environment, and you can get involved in so many different ways. So head to the link in the bio now to follow, to engage, and to get involved. We can't wait to hear from you.